Let's talk about the PvP scaling in MMOs and how as a system it has left the community divided for decades. In this video we will be taking New World as our example. We will be looking at two hypothetical examples where with PvP scaling on, the scaling is at 100% across all levels, and the second is where PvP scaling is off completely. The first example goes like this. We have a level 20 player who has 20 hours in a game. He has low knowledge of PvP mechanics, dodging, spell cancelling, etc. He has 10 weapon mastery or less. Weapon mastery is how you gain skills and passives for your weapons in New World. He has a limited number of skill passives that boost his damage. He has 2 stat perks or less. These are bonuses that could increase your critical chance, damage or armor, etc. He has unoptimized gear, low level gems, and low level potions. On the other hand, the level 60 player has 200 plus hours in the game. He has high knowledge of PvP mechanics. Both of his weapons are at mastery level 20. He has the maximum amount of skill passives per weapon. He has maximum possible stat passives, his gear is optimized to his weapon choice, he has higher level gems slotted in his gear that are catered to his weapons, and has access to the highest level potions. When these two players clash in open world PvP, who do you think wins? If you voted for the level 60 player, you would be right. The level 60 player simply has better knowledge, gear and skill mastery. Even with 100% PvP scaling where both players are doing the same damage, the level 60 player would have more chances to do more damage than the level 20 player. This PvP scaling system comes down to pure skill. If the level 20 wins, then it simply means that the level 60 was not using his full potential of advantages and his high skill ceiling of the game. In theory, there should be no scenario where the level 20 should win. Now, if we take an example of where the level 20 has high knowledge of the game, whether coming from another MMO or has played New World before. In this instance, whoever lands the required number of hits wins. The more skilled player would win. It would be difficult with the limited gear and weapon skills the level 20 player has, but it is possible. What this does is promote a healthy PvP mentality in the game. More people enable PvP in the open world and try their chances in winning against a higher level opponent. It evens the playing field, but still makes it challenging, because under all the mechanics of the game, it is in no way as equal as people think. Let's take a look at example number 2, where PvP scaling is off. The level 20 has little experience in the game. The other is a level 60 with lots of experience. In fact, in this scenario, it wouldn't even matter if the level 20 is experienced or not. The level 20 decides to enable PvP. He then immediately gets destroyed by level 60 players. What does he do? He simply disables PvP and he does not enable it until the end game. With no scaling, there simply is no incentive to engage in PvP from the early to mid game. The number of players with PvP on in the open world dwindles. PvP related activities are mostly dead. The most active areas are usually end game zones. The only active PvP happens in the end game. A new player joins the game because he wants to PvP. He sees the areas abandoned of players. Level 60 players are running around killing low level players. What does he do? Does he keep playing? The average casual player might simply leave the game, or just play for a few days. Having a high ceiling to PvP in the game breaks both the health and longevity of an MMO. You might be thinking, this defeats the purpose of leveling and becoming stronger, acquiring gear to overcome your enemies through time. Levels have become a core concept of MMOs, but they are simply a device. Their main goal is to guide players through the game. They are not a requirement in these types of games. They are there to limit the amount of content you can consume at any given time. They guide you to appropriate places and monsters to slay. Without them, players would simply be lost. Gear, on the other hand, counterplays with the leveling system. As you acquire better gear, you become stronger. This is called artificial growth, when in fact the game is becoming easier. The leveling system is designed to give game developers a more refined control of their world, the quests, and the player, so the average person isn't overwhelmed straight away, yet does not feel like a god on day one. You might then ask, what does this have to do with PvP? Well, with PvP, every encounter is different. No game designer would be able to account for the strategy of each duel, how it would end and what people employ. A designer's only goal is to balance for equality, to make PvP challenging but fair. With scaling, this means that only skill matters when facing another opponent. The churning of various complex formulas and numbers are left to the PvP scaling, so that the player can solely focus on the mental and skillful ability that he employs. You wouldn't put a professional StarCraft team against someone that only played StarCraft for 10 hours. There is no competition in it and thus no challenge. It is artificial excellence. So what does this mean for the game in general? It means that you as a player can progress, you can get better through time, your skill ceiling rises, and this alone should empower you as a player, allowing you to get the edge on your opponent. I think the problem with the great divide between the two types of players for New World is that the game was initially developed as a survival full PvP MMO. This attracted a certain type of player base, and later on the game was changed to be an opt-in with PvP scaling on. In the end, it comes down to how much PvP scaling is required. Is it at 100%? At 50%? That is up to Amazon Game Studios to decide. But that doesn't mean that the player base shouldn't have a say in the matter. In the open beta of New World, a poll was run on the official forums, where people voted what kind of PvP scaling they preferred. The harsh scaling in a closed beta or the lowered one in open beta. 50% of players preferred the scaling system that was in a closed beta, where a more even playing field was employed across all levels. Suffice to say, I think PvP scaling is here to stay, and the long-yearned version of New World that players seek is long since gone, never to return. So what are your thoughts on the PvP changes in New World? Do you agree or disagree? If you played the game, did you prefer the closed beta or open beta scaling system? Let me know in the comments and perhaps we can get Amazon's attention on this subject. If you enjoyed this analysis, do subscribe to the channel, like the video and click the notification bell and all that good stuff. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next video.